Yeah, just a brief maybe introduction of my institution. Is CDG, which stands for Caisse de dépôt et gestion, which is a public institution in Morocco. We are celebrating, in fact, this year the 60th anniversary. So we our mission, in fact, is to collect and centralize long-term saving and channel them to projects that are important, in fact, for the development of the economy. So Cyril, you mentioned the mandate transformation of NDBs, mandate to be better aligned with the 2030 agenda. If you allow me, I think I will maybe use the term silent transformation instead of transformation with disruptive aspect, because it's something which is real in our case, and I believe that it's the case of a lot of NDBs. So to enable, in fact, the audience to understand, in fact, and to comprehend this silent transformation, I want to develop 3 points. First is just to give you a brief history of CDG mandate, and I follow up with the IDFC, in fact, history, what's happened behind the stage, and I finish with in fact, the SDG and the transformation of the silent transformation of NDB mandate. So CDG started with, I think, in 1959, with the first mandate to create, in fact, pension fund and to collect long-term savings. And after that, it starts developing a project, social housing, which was very important in Morocco. Tourism also is something which was important for Morocco, and CDG played an important role. We were also involved in a huge project that are now, in fact, playing an important role for the economy, like the Tangier port. We were, in fact, since the beginning, in fact, in the huge project. We also played an important role in developing industrial zones, in also setting up a private university. And we also have an important role in developing local capital market. So the initial mandate was, as I mentioned, promote social and economic development. And it started, in fact, evolving when we had this IDFC, in fact, was created in 2011. Before, in fact, the status, in fact, of CDG in the local market was unique. We had in Morocco other institutions that were focused on development in specific sector, one on the real estate, one in the industry, and the other one in the agriculture. And in the past, in fact, they had some problem. Some of them went bankrupt. And what happened is when you have in the arena, in fact, of the financial market, having this specific status, so you are you don't have competitor, but because you have to act and bring additionality in the market, so you feel alone. But not lonely, but you feel alone in the market, because you, as it was mentioned, you are not allowed to make a lot of money, to earn money, and you should also not lose money, because if you want to be sustainable, so you have this magic formula in being, in fact, achieving what we call double alpha, doing the right thing and doing the right, and it's not easy, but I think. One thing was important is really focusing on the impact, and this is something which helped us, in fact, show the result and finding the right equilibrium. And with the IDFC, in fact, we realized that we were not really alone in the world, because we had various entities that they have exactly the same mission, the same problem, the same issues, and we were able, in fact, to exchange, to cooperate, to really transfer some knowledge, and this was very, very helpful. And we were working, in fact, on various workshops where we developed issue related to renewable energy, to sustainable infrastructure and so forth, and enable us, in fact, to download this and to see how we can use it, in fact, locally. So this was an important step, even though, in fact, we have something now today, 24 institutions within the IDFC. So we have different models. We have pure local, we have regional, and we have, I think, achieved by developing the same common denominator, in fact, with regard, in fact, to the way we act and have impact. So one thing is important is we are deeply rooted in the local economic and social fabric. So we have also now been connected with the private sector, which is something which is important, and I will come back to this with regard to SDG. We are now, in fact, really open to what's happening, in fact, in the region or globally in terms of agenda, and we try to reflect that, in fact, in our local action and project. So we in 2015 we had the emergence of SDG after the NDG, which were, in fact, something which was important for developing country. And by the way, in fact, before we thought that our mission, in fact, as an NDB, our ultimate objective is to disappear, because our objective is to accompany and bring, in fact, the country from a state of developing country to developed country, and when the country is developed, so they don't need, in fact, a national development bank. And in fact, with the crisis of 2008, we realized that even development bank, and it was mentioned this morning, they now come back and create development institution. So we changed this ultimate objective, and we try to see how we can continue having an impact. And with the SDG, something which is important, because with the setup of NDG and the fact that SDG define kind of framework and also the common language, and also covering all aspects that are important for an economy to ensure sustainable development, we realized that, in fact, we were doing, as we say in France, we were doing poetry without knowing it. In fact, we were really involved in this whole aspect, but in disorder, which was a mix of emergency project and also some projects that are more important, long-term project. And we had, in fact, in the past, also trying to manage, you know, the no decision, or the no response when you have a government or somebody bringing a project. So you have to know to say no, and not all the time, because you change job, but you have to be able, in fact, to bear in mind, in fact, the subject of sustainability and to be financially sustainable. So we were really pleased, in fact, with what was happening, in fact, with the SDG, and we started as is something which is really on the hand of the countries and the government, which they were supposed, in fact, to do follow-up. So our government had set up a national strategy, and it was approved in 2017. And now there is an issue of aligning all sectorial strategy and conversion and making coherence between what the agenda of the government used to do and the new strategy, and we're working closely with them. So we with this exercise, in fact, to summarize with the SDG, the mandate, we feel kind of rejuvenation, in fact. SDG, in fact, help us to grow up rather than grow old, if I may say. So we're pleased now, in fact, to continue, I think, the IDFC 2.0, where I think the SDG is now the framework of all our members, and continue, in fact, collaborating and exchanging in order to take it further. I will not speak on CDB, even though I'm surrounded by CDB. But I just want to make, in fact, an observation on what you mentioned with regard to the multilateral banks and the way they enjoy an excellent rating. I think there is something which is important, which is the type of risk that multilateral bank they have in their book, and the type of risk the National Development Bank they have in their book. So to simplify, you have on one hand the multilateral, they have mainly country risk in their book, not the project risk in their book. So the diversification of their portfolio enables them with the capital to enjoy, in fact, a good rating. And National Development Bank, they have in their book project risk, which is something which is a high risk compared. They cannot take country risk because they are within the country, so it's stupid, but they are taking risk on project. And I think the challenge for National Development Bank when they want to tap the capital market is really to see how they can monetize their knowledge of the project, the way the project is structured, in order to be able, in fact, to enjoy, in fact, a good rating and tap the capital market. This is really one of the main challenges for NDB going forward, is how the NDB, the source of funding for NDB, it has to be capital market. But on the other hand, they have to work on the risk profile they have in their balance sheet to be able to succeed there. And this is really a key issue. Instead of counting on what the states can offer them in terms of resource, they have to find a way to have a very strict risk management, something which is specific to NDB, because we are talking about long-term funding, long-term project, long-term maturity. And we, for example, in CDG, we developed, in fact, a way to measure the risk related to projects that are long-term, and to put some prudential ratio, and we worked with the central bank on this subject. But this is really for us an important challenge going forward. But we have, in order to be sustainable in our result, we have to be able to tap local and international capital market. Yeah, with regard, just a comment on the regulation. I think it's, as I was mentioning, when you look at what's happened, in fact, after 2008 with Basel, we saw, in fact, commercial bank withdrawing, in fact, from long-term financing and reducing their balance sheet. I think definitely we need to have something specific, in fact, for development finance and NDBs. And this is where we have, I think, to innovate, because it is really key. We cannot let it without regulation, because I think but we have to invent and to work on something very specific, because this is something which is key for not only the NDB to be able to manage it and to have kind of sustainability embedded in their result, but also vis-à-vis the government and the state, the way, in fact, it's operate. I'm not sure even if for example, for our case, we are under the supervision of the central bank, and we have even, in fact, the governor chairing, in fact, the commission de surveillance of CDG, and they were very open, in fact, to work with us on a specific prudential, in fact, ratio. But I believe that this is the way going forward. We have to come up with something which enable the NDB to perform and to pursue their mission, and also enable them to have, as I said, at the end, possibility to tap the capital market.